What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Vended Thoughts, episode 5. We have an awesome guest today, Benjy. He's from Miami. Super excited to introduce him. He's big in the YouTube world. He has a small vending route, and he's a millionaire. So, Benjy, introduce yourself. Tell the people everything about you.
What is up, you guys? This is Benjy. I'm 27 years old. I live currently just outside of Miami. I lived right in the city last year, but I moved out to the suburbs to get a little bit more bang for your buck, a little bit more space, and just to switch it up. But yeah, I own a few businesses. I own an e-commerce business, which is Shopify on the Shopify platform. I own a vending machine route, all Gumball machines. I currently have around like 67 locations, all with single head Gumball machines all around the Florida area. I kind of just do that for fun. And then other than that, I do YouTube now. I have, I think, nearly 18,000 subscribers. I started getting serious about it about maybe earlier this year, I think in January or February maybe. And I make videos about the stock market. So I wanted a new challenge and I took on the stock market, didn't really know anything about it at all. So now my mind is completely consumed with the stock market. That's pretty much all I think about. And that's kind of my new fad that I have going on right now.
Wow. Very, very awesome intro, bro. Yes, trust me, I've seen the stock portfolio. Amazing portfolio, man.
Thank you.
As well, rewinding on the vending, 67, you said? How many?
Yeah, I think I have 67, 64. I can't keep track. I did get kicked out of a few of them since the whole shutdown thing happened. I got kicked out of a few locations. I showed up to service and then they were like, no more of this. You got to take the machine. So I think all in maybe right now I have like 64 locations though.
That is awesome, man. And you've been growing that, I think only pretty much 2 years, 3 years?
Not even, man. I started back with the vending once I got pretty bored with my whole e-commerce stuff. My e-commerce business has been booming and I'm very fortunate and it's been absolutely amazing. But it got to a point about 5 years in of grinding every single day to where I started waking up and I'm like, I'm not really passionate anymore about this as much as I was a few years back. It's just the money is really cool. Again, I'm very grateful, but it doesn't excite you as much. Once you make, X amount of thousands of dollars per day, of course, it's absolutely awesome. It's life changing, but day in, day out, it's somewhat boring over time. And I really want to get back into the vending machine game because I had a route when I was back at like 13 years old when I was real young. I had a very small route in my local town, and I was like, I woke up one day and I'm like, I kind of want to get back into it and just really for the love of it. Obviously, there's not that much money to be made in the Gumball machine routes. There's money to be made for sure, but compared to what I was doing with the e-commerce stuff, it's way different. But I was like, I want a new challenge. I want to get back into it. I want I'm all about nostalgia also. Like I love thinking about the good old times type of a thing. So I got back into it and I grew this route from zero in Florida. I grew from 0 locations to 60. I think I had like 70 at my top within literally, I'm not exaggerating, like 3 months, like 3 or 4 months.
Oh my God. To be honest, you're speaking to a guy that, that took me years to do. And I sold off a majority of my bulk locations, but honestly, man, that's really awesome. But the thing is with the business, are you using locators?
Yes, 100% locators.
Right,
I do not have time or
that
energy.
business is literally automated. So
all I'm doing is dropping off machines. Yep. Literally.
I love it, man. That's so friggin' cool. So friggin' cool. And that is essentially a business that puts your money to work. And it's an argument because it isn't considered passive income, but to my extent, it's a passive income business because what does it take you? Maybe 2 minutes per location to walk in, take your money and fill up gumballs. Like,
yeah,
awesome, man. So cool as well. I mean, you're doing the other stuff as well. A lot of cool things. Super awesome to have you on here. And I really think it's cool that I just met you through the internet. And I do see your YouTube channel is popping off because your videos, honestly, I watch a lot of them, man. It's super entertaining to see you do the trades and everything. Yeah, no problem. Anytime, man. But I didn't know that with the vending machines, man. That's so awesome. I knew you did it when you were younger, but like that's a good size route, man.
Yeah, I know it was
even at $10 a month, and you have your average may be higher than $10. Even at $10 a month, you're pulling in $700 a month. It's costing you maybe 2 hours a month, 3 hours a month. It's really not that crazy, Because I mean, Miami's pretty dense. I don't know if you go
Yeah.
out of Miami, but
Yeah, I
it
have
was pretty
routes
dense.
as far as like West Palm Beach all the way down to Miami. So it is pretty spread
Oh,
out, but
Jesus.
I
Yeah.
kind of did that for a reason because now I live somewhere in the middle of those two. So it really worked out
Oh,
because I
okay,
mean,
cool.
who doesn't want to take a nice ride into Miami every so often? And then on the other hand,
Hell
who
yeah.
doesn't want to take a nice beautiful ride towards West Palm Beach? I mean, it's like you said, I think it's very passive. It's literally just driving to me. It's just putting on a nice podcast, hopping in the
Yeah.
car, and for my lifestyle, it's super like therapeutic because I can just sit in the car, drive, load up the car with gumballs and my bank bags and just drive location location. I work from home, so getting some actual human interaction, talking to the managers, some handshaking here and there. That's not a problem at all because I do work from home, so I'm pretty
Yeah.
tied into the screen all day. So it's really passive in my opinion too. It's honestly even the other side of that. It's honestly enjoyable to me. Probably because I did do it as a kid, so it is a lot more like nostalgic, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You said you like the nostalgia, which I mean, there's a certain vibe to being nostalgic for sure because it could definitely
Uh
bring back some awesome memories from our youth. But
huh.
um, super freaking cool. And one more thought on that because I don't have any questions pretty much on the vending. Why didn't you? Because I had hit you up about the full line. I'm pretty heavy in full line and like arcade machines,
Mhm.
amusement. Why didn't you pull the trigger on those I mean, those machines were garbage, I'll be honest, but
Yes.
you didn't pull the trigger on those routes.
Yes. I mean, I didn't pull the trigger honestly because you saved me on telling me not to. You literally were like, dude, stop what you're doing, do some more research, use your head. And I was kind of like, what is Dom? I'm like, all right, I'll do a little bit of research. And I'm like, oh, that's what he meant. Like, I'm about to buy the Venstar 3000s of the full line world. Like, this is
Yo,
literally laughable. So, like, what am
I'm
I doing?
quoting you on that.
And I was like,
Great
so
reference.
yeah, so I wanted to get in the full line because to be honest with you, I had a bunch of money sitting on the sidelines. I'm just gonna be straight up. I have a lot of money sitting on the sidelines for my e-commerce business that's just honestly gathering dust. And again, very grateful for that, not trying to, be any sort of way. Very grateful. But I didn't know any better. I didn't know what to do with it. So I'm seeing all these other opportunities. I'm thinking stocks, maybe this is back like a year and a half ago. I'm thinking maybe stocks, maybe I don't know, bonds, maybe more smaller businesses to maybe acquire. So I came across this full line routes and it was like 8 machines. They were all super garbage. I later on realized, and it was overpriced. And now that I look back, it's a lot easier to understand. But I didn't pull the trigger on it because first of all, even servicing my route that I have right now, my 64, 67 locations, whatever I have, even that, to be honest with you, I'm kind of behind on right now. I haven't gotten to a few of them in Miami, which I really should go check out because I haven't been there in like 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 12 or 14 months, a few of them. It's been a while. So it's the vending thing right now. It's hard because I have a lot of other stuff going on. So it's hard to sometimes hop in the car and make sense of driving, all in, maybe 3 hours to go do that I'm like, dude, you're really going to go, like, you have important stuff to do right now. Like, let's not hop in a car and spend 3 hours of your day, servicing a gumball machine. But then other days I'll wake up and I'm like, you know what? I want to go service 15 machines today. So that's kind of how it all went. But yeah, the full line thing is not for me. Way too much work. Like you were telling me the full line is not passive. You're like, it's not passive, just so you know. And I'm like, I think it is. You're like, no, it's not. It's not as passive as gumballs or, even gumballs aren't necessarily passive. So that's kind of what happened there.
No. Yeah, 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 yeah. All right. Good to know. And
Mhm.
yeah, man, at least you have the luxury. It seems as if you're semi-retired because you have the luxury to kind of wake up and do what you want to some extent.
Yeah, no, I definitely am. It does feel like that. I hit a certain point as far as like savings where my current like all in expenses right now, like I'm very, very close to having my passive income. I mean, it's hard to really decipher passive income. I guess I'll say like dividends. That's very, very passive, I would consider, because you're not really lifting a finger to,
Yeah,
make money off
dividends are
dividends.
legit passive income
Yes,
on
yes,
taxes. The only
yes.
passive income I've heard, or
Yep.
royalties, but go ahead.
Yep. But then it's like my e-commerce store, like I do maybe 10 minutes of work some days and bring in, hundreds or maybe thousands of dollars from that on days where I don't really get to it. So is that considered passive? Because I have one employee, it's my girlfriend, and she does all of the
Yeah.
customer service, she does all of the packaging. So is that considered passive? But net,
So
I
are
mean,
you sitting on the beach while your girlfriend's working?
no.
Is this the story?
No, yeah, no. See, that's the thing with me. We'll get into that. I really don't enjoy just sitting around. Like, I'm not someone. I've had the luxury of being able to go on a lot of vacations over the last, say, 5, 6, 7 years, and I really don't. I don't like just sitting on a beach somewhere having a drink. Like, I would rather my type of vacation is like quick and fast. Like, a few days, maybe get a yacht with a bunch of buddies and just go crazy. And then, after a day or two, wake up and get back on it. I'm not
I
really
like
big
it.
on just sitting around. It's not my
It
style.
does get boring. I mean, you can
Mhm.
sit around, and I'm sure you do periodically because it's nice for the solitude, but the
Yep.
adventure and the traveling minute by minute and the uncertainty of traveling sometimes is an awesome, awesome feeling too.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I would consider myself not retired. I would consider myself, yeah, I definitely wake up and do what I want. I don't have anyone calling me. I don't have any sort of, I only have her as the employee. I don't even have to answer to employees. I built my business that way. Specifically,
So
I could have
awesome.
scaled it in a way to, I did have a big office and warehouse back in 2016, and it was a nightmare because just so much overhead, so much scaling, so much to worry about. I brought the business back into my house shortly after that, and I was so happy about it. I'm like, I just want to have this all under the roof. I want it to be a very small team, me and my girlfriend, and literally just run it as a lifestyle brand where the business comes with us. I go with the business, and it's kind of all intertwined rather than having days off. I'd rather work 7 days a week and have my business intertwined every single day than work very specific days and then have very specific days off. It's just not really how I seem to function.
Yeah, absolutely, which is very cool to get in your head because I know you've had some success with everything. And going back to just a book, and then we will jump into the questions. I just read a book called Company of One, and it changed my complete mindset on business because I think in business, some people, get into it for the sake of growth, and we want to grow and grow and grow something rather big. But at the end of the day, do you really need to grow to make just the same amount of money? You can freelance or gig out pretty much
Hmm.
anything to run your online business and still be a company of one. Essentially, obviously, you have your girlfriend as well,
Hmm.
but be a company of one and still make $1 million, $2 million, even up probably to $10 million at this point. I have no experience with either of that, but it seems as if it is completely easy now to really scale an online business if you have the right market.
Yeah, no, 100%. I was totally caught up in when I was around 20, I think I was 23 or 20. Yeah, I was probably around 24 years old. I was caught up in my surroundings, the other entrepreneurs that I was, I guess a lot of the online entrepreneurs I was surrounded with, honestly, in the same space, the e-commerce space. And they were all getting these warehouses and these fancy offices with the ping pong tables and the fancy mini fridges. And honestly, I look back and I got caught up into that. And I did. I bought or I got a lease on a big fancy office with like, fancy fixtures, and we got all new office furniture. And I just, was running the credit card like crazy, like, because I want to fit in because I was like, I'm running $1 million business, $1 million per year business, like at 24, 25, whatever I was. Yeah, probably 2015. So yeah, it's probably 24. And I'm like, I want to look like it, and that's what everyone else is doing. And I shortly, like I said later, I actually broke the lease. I paid a little bit extra to break the lease. I sold off the mini fridge. I sold off all the tables on Craigslist. And like I said, we
Wow.
moved back into the place. We cut our expenses from like, I mean, just the office alone was running probably an extra like $11,000 per month between rent and insurance and electricity and everything else and overhead. So I totally went the other way. And this was back before I feel like not that many people were at that. I feel like nowadays it's much more common to have a one or two person show, but this was back in
Yeah.
2016, 2017, where I feel like it was a little bit less common to really close shop and just go work out of your, living room. And I was perfectly proud of that. I'm like, yeah, I run this multiple $1 million business. I'm running it out of our living room, and we have no expenses, and every dollar profit, or every dollar that comes in, there's just so much more profit at the end of the day, because I was very caught up in the top line revenue. I wanted to have the, like you said, the growth, the top line revenue. But when it comes down to it, when everything, when all the people clear out, and there's no more Instagram flexing, it's like, how much money do you actually have after it's all said and done? And I learned that very quickly, and I'm very happy that I still run my businesses that way to this day. And I definitely recommend others to really take into consideration overhead expenses and try not to keep up with the Joneses, because it's really pointless.
Thank you, man. I mean, that's a lot of just jam packed knowledge right there, but I absolutely agree with you. And yeah, why not run your business from your office, in your house, in your PJs, or whatever you do, and just
Yep.
chill out? And, definitely, definitely the wave now, but super awesome to
No, it is.
hear. It's nice to learn about you, nice to talk to you. And Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
excited
brother.
to jump in.
We've been interacting for a while. I think probably since 2018. I would say we've been interacting
Yeah,
online,
probably 2018. Yeah,
something like
when I
that.
started on YouTube, I kind of tried to mingle around with everyone like in the
Uh huh.
vending
Uh
niche,
huh.
and you were going heavy in that. So
Uh
I'm
huh.
glad we've kept in touch the little bit we have. And also, I
Yep.
want to
Yep.
connect you with my friend Tyler, who I think is coming on next week. He's
Okay.
in Miami, and he actually owns his own yacht. So if you charter your
Really?
yachts, he might be your guy.
Let's
Yeah,
go. Yeah. Yeah.
he's
Definitely. I'll
super
listen to that
cool.
one.
Yeah, he'll be an interesting podcast as well. But
Awesome. I'm
again,
interested.
yes, thank you for coming on. I really do appreciate it. And we're gonna just hop into these questions, pretty much just shoot them out at you, and yeah, let's see where we can go.
Cool.
So Pepsi or Coke? Just a traditional question we ask here, and I'm curious of your answer.
So I do not drink any soda. I've never liked soda since I was a kid, and this isn't one of those answers like I don't drink soda because it's not healthy. I just don't like it. It's not that it's not that I care about the unhealthiness of it, but I just don't drink soda. Drink water. I like pre-workout. I like I like Gatorade, Powerade, that kind of stuff. Juices more so.
That's crazy. All right, well, good to know. But you like, there's no chance in your body that you ever crave a Pepsi or a Coke.
Not a chance. No. One time at a bar, someone accidentally gave me a Sprite, and it's not the taste. It's the what is it, carbonation or whatever it's called,
Yeah,
the bubbles. That's what I don't like.
carbonation. Yeah.
That's what I don't like.
Okay,
My
gotcha.
mouth just
So
like
you're
does
not a
not like that
Lacroix
feeling.
guy then.
No, 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 no. Flat drinks. Yes.
Flat all day. All right. All right. So you were someone who rode the massive e-com trend. I know it was going on way before 2014. You did talk a little bit about that business, but if you could go a little bit more in detail, essentially how you grew it, if you're interested in telling us how you
hmm
scaled your Facebook ads potentially, I think that's a big thing, or how you got the product out to people. Um, yeah, and we'll start there.
Yeah. So I started off, it kind of starts off in like 2011, 2012 in high school, senior year. I got interested in Twitter marketing. We used to work a job at a gas station. I think I made like 6.55 an hour, but it was a pretty cool job because I was allowed to bring my laptop. I was a gas station attendant, so I could sit on my laptop all day and just basically do research. And I was flat broke. I was about to go to college, my first year of college, took out a ton of student loans because I didn't really have any sort of money at this time. Parents didn't have any sort of money, so I was kind of lost. I was kind of a little not depressed, but I was very much so down, and I was just desperately looking for a way out. I've always been entrepreneurial, but I really have not had anything actually take off ever in my life up until this point. So I found out that a lot of people were making these parody accounts on the internet, such as like on Facebook pages, Twitter, and other things, Instagram, even back in those days. So I came across the idea of making Twitter pages and then basically posting relatable tweets, having a lot of people retweet them, obviously favorite them because back in the day it was favorite on Twitter, and then grow pages through that way. And then in hopes of one day having a large following to then sell advertisement through or really do whatever else was available at the time. So at the gas station job, I started building these pages, not thinking anything of it. I started a page called At Workout Humor, and I was really into the gym, so I would post like relatable workout stuff. I'd post tweets like retweet if you're excited for chest day, or retweet if you hate leg day, like stuff like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I would post like weird, like relatable stuff, but it went crazy. So the page started at 0, and before I knew it, I had like 300 followers, 500 followers, and then it got up to like within the first week, I think I had like 18,000 followers. But keep in mind, this is 2011, 2012. And back in those days, growing social media pages was completely different than it is in 2020. Nowadays, this would never work. I mean, nowadays it's just so different. It's a different scape. But I grew these pages.
absolutely.
I started a bunch more pages of these Twitter pages during my first year of college. I didn't tell anyone because I was super embarrassed. And I finally told my parents at one point, and so I started getting a lot of free stuff in the mail to their house back home when I was off in the dorms in college. So they were getting all these like boxes and packages, like, what is this stuff? Like gym wear and like free supplements, all kinds of stuff. So I started getting all this stuff shipped to their house, and they started asking questions. So I finally came clean to a few friends, and they were like, dude, this is actually kind of funny. Like you sit in your dorm room and do this kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, I haven't for a while, blah, blah, blah. So um, fast forward like a year later. So this is an important thing. I didn't make a penny on this for a year. So I was grinding every single day, scheduling tweets on different softwares, very like introductory softwares that were out back then. Very, very like weird stuff. But I was scheduling tweets like to go out every single hour on the hour. I was thinking of all the content. I was posting pictures and just like, doing the whole thing. Because back nowadays, we all know how easy it is to steal a meme. But back in those days, believe it or not, I was not the only person, obviously, but I was definitely coming up with a lot of original memes that nowadays we'd probably laugh at and say it's, absolutely not funny or stupid even. But I was trying my best to be funny, and it was really taking off. And before I knew it, like 1 year in, I had like amassed like, I would say like 500,000 followers between maybe like 5 or 10 different pages, different niches between college niches, gym, and then just like generally funny pages. And then I started learning how to monetize the pages because I was getting so many retweets and favorites and just traffic to my Twitter pages that I finally started having brands reach out to me, and they would basically say, here's my product. If you post a link to my product, I'll give you $40. And I'm like, oh, well, I have, 10 pages. They're like, okay, I'll give you $40 times 10 then. So I was making, all of a sudden, I went from making $0 in college to all of a sudden I'm like 20, I think I'm like 20 years old at this point. Yeah. And I go from making $0. My rent in college is like $300 a month or something, like crazy cheap. And I'm now making like $400 a day to like $1,000 a day sitting in my college, like wannabe frat house. And I'm just like, what the heck? So
So
that went on.
cool.
That went on shortly after, and I got to a point in my savings where I was like, you know what, I'm dropping out of college. This is dumb. I'm sitting in class right now, just tweeting the entire time on all these different pages, trying to keep them all organized, and I'm making so much money that this isn't really worth my time in college right now. So semester 3, I dropped out. So I did go through the entire freshman year, but I dropped out. I'm also very bad at school, so it wasn't a big deal at all for me to drop out. I'm like, I'm never going to make it here anyway. So dropped out. And then shortly after that, I grew the pages larger and larger. And then that gets to the point of the story where in 2015 or 2014, late 2015, early, I think, I finally said, you know what? I have all these giant Twitter pages. I'm sick of making other people money by promoting their stuff. Why don't I promote my own stuff? And why don't I use my traffic to, push my own product? So it came to a point where I was like, okay, I just have to think of a product then, which wasn't all that tough because I already had an interest in like accessories. So I was looking up online different kind of accessory manufacturers, such as like leather wraps, like, the kind of stuff that guys would wear along with like a watch or something. I was looking for stuff like
Yes.
that. Came across a ton of different accessories, and I ordered a few of them, made a simple website, and then took some pictures of them, put them on a Shopify website. And this was way back before like Shopify was as popular as it is today, for sure. And right away, like posted links on all my Twitter pages that I of course already owned, and they're that fast. It was like sale, an hour later sale, a few hours later sale, and I'm like, oh, that was like actually that easy. So I was able to generate like 20 sales a day, upwards to maybe like 40 sales a day, just through my own Twitter pages for a long time. And this is the part where it was very unfair, like for competitors, because they're like, it's very hard right now even to start a brand and to get your first sale. And I definitely hear you, but it's also a different time. But
Yeah.
I was able to generate a lot of sales through my Twitter pages. That's how I probably made my first, maybe like $500,000 of revenue, maybe year one. And then from there, I used all the traffic and data that I was able to generate through my first initial, say, 30,000 sales or so, whatever it was. And then I really dived into Facebook ads, Facebook marketing, as well as Instagram marketing, as well as influencer deals, is all that kind of stuff. So I went really deep into that 2015, all the way up until really like 2019.
Wow. That is super cool to hear someone's perspective from the 2014 internet, 2013, even before that. But super
Yeah.
awesome. Didn't know you dropped out. And honestly, super cool because you're super successful and you had the Lambo for a bit, but I know those cars probably suck. So you got rid of it, which is
Yeah, I had the Lambo for
expected.
like 9 months, and it's one of those things. It's like, it was awesome month 1, 2, 3, 4. Then month 5, it's kind of like, okay, now I have this, giant paperweight that's depreciating like crazy. And it's like, and then right before the lockdown, I started sending out like the offer to other dealerships and saying, hey, what would you guys pay for this, right before the lockdown? And I got like top dollar for it, actually. So right after the lockdown, obviously that's when like everything luxury just dropped off in price, because I mean, who's buying exotic cars during a pandemic? So
Yeah.
I was able to get a lot back for it, and all is well. So the Lambo was fun, but yeah, I was able to get out
All
of it
right.
unscathed.
RIP Lambo, but either
Hmm.
way, we
It
have
worked out.
almost over $250,000 dividend portfolio, so we can't complain anymore. Okay.
Exactly. Traded in the Lambo for some equity and some tons of companies. I'm very happy with that. I'm growing up.
I guess that's what you can call it. moving on to the next question, and I guess we'll fast forward now. 2020 and beyond. Easiest way you acquire a customer for your business. A simple way. You don't have to give away your golden goose, but simple way.
Is it for the ecom business?
Yeah, for the e-com business, I would say.
Yeah, for the easiest way these days to acquire business, honestly, which I'll tell you guys, it's much, much tougher. So if any of you guys out there are listening that want to start a brand, don't get discouraged if it's hard to make your first few sales, because it is a tough landscape right now in 2020. Because now even with Amazon, and there's so much more just e-commerce in general these days. So nowadays, the easiest way to still acquire a customer, honestly, is probably through Facebook or Instagram, though, to gain a small following on either one of them. And then, of course, selling through that, or, of course, using the native ad platforms and creating an ad, obviously, to sell the product or service through. That's going to be the easiest way still. Easiest way as far as time and as well as is like budget efficiency. I still feel like it's unfortunate because it's like Facebook and Instagram just, I feel like, own the entire e-commerce space. I wish there was other platforms that could keep up, but Snapchat is good, but it honestly still, Facebook and Instagram, learn how to run ads on there. And that's probably the easiest way.
Yeah, absolutely. Or what you started with, I totally agree. The organic sense, if you have a following, similar
Yes,
to like
that's
my
number one.
online little e-com store, Vending Business Solutions, because I have a little bit of a following in
Yep.
vending, it does convert pretty well.
Yes, exactly.
Um, cool, very cool. Is your view of business grounded in reality? People don't seem to understand this question. Maybe you do.
I feel like I do, but can you explain it a little bit? I feel like I do, but I don't want to
Yeah,
go
no
on
worries.
a rant and you're like, oh, that's not what I meant.
Sure. So all I'm basically asking is, I mean, here's the thing: the way your lifestyle is and how I've seen you, you've had a lot of success. So your view of business may be different, but for people who see a vending YouTube page like myself, for example, they look and they say, "Oh wow, it looks easy to make that amount of money." So in that essence, their idea of business isn't grounded in reality. So do you
hmm
view your businesses that you operate as grounded in reality with, what they actually can be, I guess?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I honestly would say when I was younger, I didn't, because I took for granted in the early days of e-commerce and even in social media. Like we were talking about in 2011, when I started these Twitter pages, I wasn't funny. These Twitter pages weren't anything too crazy, but I was getting so much exposure because of just being at the right place at the right time. Honestly, and I didn't understand it at that time. So I really was not in reality. And even moving forward from there, when I started my e-commerce store and I started getting 20 or 30 sales a day, like off the bat, I was like, oh, that's okay. Like $1,000 a day in revenue. That's okay. But like looking back, I'm like, dude, you were getting so many sales. Like if only it was that easy these days. Like it's just so much harder these days, which I keep on reiterating. But
Yeah.
I was in a total, I mean, I didn't know any better because I was in the moment and all I knew was in front of me. But I was not in reality. And I feel like it really was until like 2018 or 2019 when things started to kind of level off for my ecom business. It stopped growing. I stopped really scaling. I started to kind of consolidate what it was and sort of, riding it out, if you will. That was really the moment where I kind of realized what I have and what it was in the past and how just crazy the ride has been. But yeah, it wasn't until 2018 until I really realized like what things were around me.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect answer to that question. And I think it's interesting to always see that, because even for myself, when I reflect and look back on life, it's interesting from what we think we can do. I don't know if you've been entrepreneurial. You have been entrepreneurial since you were young. So what we
Yes,
think we can
definitely.
do when we're 13, 14 years old in business compared to when I'm 24, you're 27, compared to when we're in our 20s is a lot different. And I try to initiate that point on the podcast for younger people who are listening, because I do have a demographic between 13 and 17,
hmm
that it just makes sense to understand that, like, you're not going to be a millionaire overnight, but if you stay at something for a sustained period of time, for you it's pretty much 10 years. Obviously you've tried different things, but you've been in the realm of business for 10 years, let's say.
hmm
And that's the only way you would have learned every lesson. Like each step of the process matters for the entire picture.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think, is it better or worse to not be in reality almost? Because I feel like during my not grounded to reality days back in, I would say, 2012 to 2018, those 6 years, it was kind of a blur when I made the most of my money. And I feel like if I would have had someone to step in and say, listen, dude, this is what's really going on, someone that I looked up to or something, I might have changed my route and it might have almost been detrimental, because I was just going with it. I was almost like the guy at the blackjack table that just is on a heater and just keeps on betting more and betting more and betting more. Like at one point I was spending like quarter or $500,000 a month on ads on Facebook and Instagram ads. And like, if you would ask me back then, like, are you spending a lot of money? I'd be like, not really. Like, that's just kind of what it needs to do. But like now I'm like, dude, you were like a kid. Like, what do you mean that it was just so crazy. So I do think that there's some beauty in just not being young and not really realizing what's going on. And sometimes it can hurt you, but in my case, I really don't think it really hurt me. I feel like it kind of actually helped me.
Absolutely. And honestly, I really respect that opinion. I think that's a good point. Do you learn from your mistakes? I mean, it seems like you do just from the brief ending of that, but do you learn from your mistakes?
Oh yeah, no, definitely I do. Especially in business, I feel like I mean, I grew up pretty low income. I didn't really have anyone. I didn't have an uncle or a dad or a mom or an aunt to look up to that owned their own business. I didn't really have anyone around me, so it really has felt like it's just been me against me, really. So everything that I went through, as far as business goes, and really as far as life, it's like I have to learn it the hard way sometimes, and that's just kind of how it's worked out for me. And it is a longer route a lot of times. I feel like it does take me longer to come out the other end than maybe other people, but I kind of go the way that it works for me. And I try to, like iron out the kinks as fast as I can, but I definitely do learn from it. I try to learn fast from the mistakes. I try to fail fast and get back on and just, go the other way, just as fast as possible, really.
Yeah, not always easy to fail fast sometimes, but you definitely can always bounce back. And interesting, man. That's super, super awesome. It definitely took me a bit to learn from my mistakes, and now I
Yeah.
think I'm getting those kinks out, and we're on the
Yes,
right
and
track.
right when we think that right when we think that though, we're gonna look back at a year and two from now, we're gonna be like, oh, we had still so many mistakes that I wish I would have known. It's just I feel like it's always
Very
gonna be
true.
that way, honestly. Just kind of how life seems
It
to
is
be.
true. That is life. You got to roll with it.
Yep.
Um, and then pivoting from that, what was the happiest moment of your life? Which I'm interested to hear as well. Was it the
I
Lambo?
don't
We need to know.
know. It was not the Lambo. I'll tell you. I had a Mercedes G wagon before the Lambo. That was my
That was
previous
sweet too.
car.
Love that car.
And honestly, I was a lot younger when I bought that car. I think I was 24, 25, and that was during my blurriness of business, where like I didn't really know any better about what was going on. It was just everything was just happening fast, and I would say that was a lot. I was a lot happier buying that than the Lambo. When I bought the Lambo, it was like one of those things where I just kind of always believed it was coming in the future. I got to a point financially where it made sense, and it was kind of like, all right, it was more of a transaction. It wasn't as much of like a dream, like how the G wagon was. As weird as that might sound, the Lambo was more just
Sure.
like the Lambo was like just get it out of your system, cross it off the list, because you're gonna want one at some point for some time. Just get it out of the way, and that's how I went into it. And that's honestly how it was. But the happiest I've ever been, I don't know. I mean, I don't really, I honestly don't even know. I mean, I'm happy all the time. It's just I don't really have a moment, honestly, that I'm like, of course there's been
Nothing
awesome
that
days like
stands out that kind of
okay,
moments.
like Black Friday in 2016. It was
Wow, I
me. It
can't
was
imagine how much.
Yeah. We did 39,000 on Black Friday, and then on
Oh
Cyber
my
Monday
god.
we did 48,000 in sales. So that weekend
Wow.
was like a $100,000 weekend, and it was me, my girlfriend, and my mom just working in my office at the time, and just looking at just the sea of orders that we were packaging. Like we were selling stuff like at a rate that all three of us were packaging as fast as we could possibly package, and the labels were still just piling up. And again, I didn't understand it at the time, but I'm like, dude, this printer is literally just printing money for you right now. Like, the older Benji's looking back like if only you would have known. But yeah, that was one of my proudest moments as far as business goes. That was so cool, and just having that amount of money hit the bank account, from Shopify on that next whatever Tuesday was just like, whoa, like that was a big transaction. So that was one of my
That's
favorite
yeah, that's
moments.
def that's definitely a day too. Wow. All right, not the Lambo, and
Not
it
the
seems like it
Lambo, not
wasn't
the
even
Lambo.
it wasn't really the money even. It seems like you're genuinely just a happy guy, and you're honestly just grateful. So I think
No, it
that's
really is. Yeah.
yeah, you're a young, talented entrepreneur. What can I mean? I guess yeah. What can you see derailing your plans in life or business? I'm sure you have some plans for years down the road, maybe retirement. What do you see derailing that?
I can't really see that much derailing things at this point. Besides, I mean, like I said, I've utilized the time that the good was good, that the getting was good, and I really was smart with my money for the most part. I had moments over the last few years where I spent money very crazy, like pool parties in Miami. I think last year at a pool party in Miami, I think I spent in one day, like, I don't even want to tell you, you're gonna be really upset with me. I think I probably spent like $35,000 in an afternoon in
Oh
Miami at
my
a pool
god.
party. And then like, the yachts and all that stuff. That's probably my only times where I kind of looked at myself in the mirror, like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, settle down. Like, and it never got to a point where it was like, out of control, luckily. But it got to a point where it's like, all right, we're making good money, which is awesome, grateful, but we're also spending money on stuff that we're not going to get any sort of return on. Um, Even with the Lambo, you buy the Lambo for 200K, you drive it for 9 months, and you sell it for 190. So you lose $10,000, and for 9 months of enjoyment. So it's not the end of the world. But when it comes to spending money at like pool parties and clubs and all the things that you see everyone doing on Instagram, all that stuff, honestly, it got really dumb, and I stopped that pretty quickly. But that was the closest thing that really is like in the talks of being derailing to me. Honestly, that's what I can think of.
You like your lifestyle for sure, and you started your business because you wanted the lifestyle that your business could bring. So I mean, it definitely makes sense. But
Yes, yes.
good to know. Yeah, definitely don't be dropping 30 grand. Put that
No,
into nice
no.
high yielding
Yes,
dividend
buy some
stock.
Apple,
So
buy some Microsoft. Yes, you'll be much happier with yourself later on.
100%, man, which is really cool that you're doing that. And I'm definitely going to switch to that approach. Once I get to, 200, 300,000 in investments,
Uh-huh.
I'm switching to dividends because I mean, that's at least 1,000, $2,000 a quarter, maybe a month if you're doing good. I
Exactly.
don't know,
Yeah,
but
I mean, over time, yes.
super awesome. Yeah. Over time. Exactly. Very cool. Very cool. Is there something else you would love to do? Any hobbies or other things you would enjoy besides your current doings?
If I really like doing like physical stuff, which is so funny because my entire career since really I was 18 years old now has been just in front of my computer screen. I've never worked since the gas station. I've never worked a job outside of my own thing. So I like doing physical stuff. I like the idea of like being a carpenter or being just some sort of physical activity, just getting even like construction, like getting up and moving dirt or like landscaping, that kind of thing. Like I like the idea of that. Now, if I was forced to do that, if you're saying, okay, that's cool, wake up tomorrow morning and go do landscaping for 10 hours, then I'd probably hate my life because that's so much tougher than I probably can imagine. But I like the idea of doing like a blue collar, like physical labor type of job. Honestly, I like the idea of it for sure.
What a interesting perspective. All right, good to know. You want to just get up and do something. Makes sense on the vending end. I'll be
Yes.
honest, at your level, it is somewhat of a blue collar, maybe even lower than
No,
that,
it
but it's a
definitely
blue
is.
collar type
It
of job.
definitely
Yeah.
is. Yeah, yeah. You're loading up the car. In Florida, it's 100 degrees. You're loading up the car with heavy machines and gumballs, and the machines are flailing around in the back of the car, and you're worried they're gonna fly out the window. Like, yeah, it's definitely not that glamorous for sure compared to sitting in front of the laptop all day.
100%, but it gets you out there, which makes sense, man. Very cool. How successful have you been? I mean, you've been successful, but I guess you could tell the people, how successful have you been at dividend investing, and how much are you making per month in dividends or per quarter if you can give an estimate?
Yeah, so I started doing like I said, I started this whole stock market thing just as an out because I was getting really bored and kind of lost my passion for the e-commerce stuff. So this was my new interest, you could say, where I was just, when us as entrepreneurs, once we have an interest, we think about it all day long. I mean, I'm sure Dom, you have the same type of thing where you just can't get an idea out of your head. Before you go to
Yes.
sleep, you're probably sitting there like, oh my God, if I would try this or if I could switch that around, like all of a sudden stocks and investing were that thing for me about a year and a half ago. So I took the dive in. I told myself, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to document the entire thing on YouTube. So I started from day one, my first deposit on YouTube on my channel, just going over my Robinhood portfolio with just a few $1,000s in it. And didn't know really what I was talking about. And I told my audience that. I never, told my audience that I'm some sort of expert. I just said, hey guys, this is, me and my portfolio. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to document me learning and let's see how this goes in a year. So now we're 43 weeks in, and I did unfortunately invest in the top of the market right before the drop in March during the whole shutdown. I did already deploy a good amount of capital. So that does definitely suck, but I'm in this for the long term. I want to have this as my long term portfolio. So keep in mind, even though I'm not doing all that well yet, it's for the long term. But so far, the portfolio is at like 200 and like 265,000 as of right now. And per month now, I'm generating probably around on average $800 to probably $1,200 per month of just passive income from dividends from a various amount of different
Wow.
companies. Yep.
Wow. That is awesome right there. Yes, you are down, but even over the grand scheme of the year, you did invest at the top, which is I laughed just a little bit because I don't know how the timing of markets work, but the timing of the market is always good for an investment and you somehow hit the top of it. How much are you
Yeah.
down? It's not that much though. It
I'm
really
currently
isn't.
not down. I'm actually pretty much even. I think I'm up like 500
Bam,
bucks or
there we go.
something.
Yeah, but
But
it's
I
not
still consider
appreciating
that,
essentially.
yeah, I still consider it a pretty much down year because I pretty much had my money all sitting there for the entire year now, and it didn't do much. But again, this is a long term portfolio. I want to keep adding money into it, hopefully for the long term, and just have the dividends, keep growing over time, and then get to a point where the dividends are taking care of most of my bills. I mean, that'd be awesome. Just having the dividends alone, taking care of all my bills, and still having my businesses, generating income and everything else. So that's the goal there.
Yeah, absolutely. You're definitely gonna get there. Keep on doing that. That's awesome, man.
Thanks, bro.
I'll keep liking the videos
Thanks,
every
bro.
time. I
Thanks.
got to. I got them to turn on post notifications.
Yes,
And if
yes, yeah.
anyone is listening at Benjy, I think just on YouTube,
Yeah,
type in
yeah.
Benjy,
Yep.
you'll see him on there.
Yep. You'll see my face.
Um, what made you choose the business path you are on currently? You did kind of touch on this in the beginning, but just give us a brief rundown. What made you choose ecom? I kind of remember you mentioned a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah, well, I've always liked marketing. I've always been someone with a marketing mindset, even before my social media pages. Like, I was always the guy that liked to organize the groups of friends to go here, go there. I've always had a way even of trying to gather crowds and enticing crowds with different ideas, even in college and stuff. So I've always liked marketing, but I used to sit for hours on this forum called, like, I think it was called digitalpoint.com. It was like a digital marketing forum, and this was back in like 2009, 10, 11. And I would just read through threads, and I would just read through different ways of making money online marketing, basically. And that's where I actually came across some of the ideas for the social media marketing. So I always liked it. I always liked the idea of doing digital marketing of some sort. And it just so happened that social media was the way to really, let it work for me finally.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you definitely got the wave correct for ecom, slightly failed on the market, but either way,
Hmm.
that's a win in my books. That's
Yep,
awesome, man.
yep.
Very cool though. Very cool. No, to become the person you want to become, do you have to give up the person you are now?
That's deep. I don't, that's real deep. I don't know. I mean, to become the person you want to become, I feel like if you truly, it's hard. It's hard. I'm kind of rough around the edges when it comes to like work ethic and changing your ways. I'm very rough around the edges to my friends and family when it comes to that. I tell people, if you really want something and you're not doing it, like, for one, it's like, well, then you don't really want it bad enough, or you want something else more, maybe. But for me, it was very easy. Like I said to you, I'm more than willing to work 7 days a week. Like, I've worked 7 days a week now for, I mean, since I was 18, like minus, of course, if I have, friends in town for a day, or if I have a wedding to go to. But I'm talking on like an everyday basis. I don't sit around and play video games all day ever. I don't even own video games, for that reason, really. But I like work because I know where I want to get, and I know that's who I am. And I don't really have much sympathy for people that claim they want to be somewhere and they want to change, but they don't do it, because I see myself and how I've been able to do it, and I'm not special by any means. I was given no, easy routes or anything. So, if I can do it, anyone else can do it.
Honestly, such a interesting answer to the question. I didn't think you answered it, but you did answer it in a way which literally is just saying you're a doer, and it doesn't matter if you have to change who you are or what you are. You know who you are, you know what you have to do, and the only thing separating between you and what you want is just doing the work. And I got that
Exactly.
from that, and I like that a lot, because honestly, I could ask that question all day, but at the end of the day, you still got to work and you still got to do something to make
Exactly.
your business
Yeah.
work.
There's just the
So many
reality of
people
it.
are exactly, and I like how you're really putting the reality of drop shipping like really cool in this podcast, because you're putting it in perspective. Like, you really have to work on it these days. It's not the same as it used to be in 2013, 2014. So I think it just sheds a light on all these drop shipping
Yeah.
people on YouTube making money from their affiliate links, actually are
Exactly.
not
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
making money from drop shipping
There's
businesses.
very few guys that I even, and no discredit to them. I wish them all the best, but there's very few guys that even started doing ecom alongside of me back when I started, back in the golden era, that are still doing it today. It's a very tough, I mean, business in general, as you know, it's very tough to actually make it. I mean, you can hear people online telling you all day long that it's easy and just to buy their course or to do X, Y, or Z, which maybe, but I mean, I really just think it comes down to the person and how much they're willing to work and how much they're willing to learn. If you're willing to put in the work and if you're willing to learn from the, leaders in the space, I feel like it's honestly kind of easy then. But that's the really hard part to do, honestly.
Absolutely. The hard part is in the doing. And I mean, it's 1% of people that can actually,
Hmm.
talk their mind out of being lazy and playing video games and actually get out there and do it
Yep.
instead of just saying it. And I love that you said that, because so many people can say it, but at the end of the day, I can preach and tell someone how to start a vending business. But again,
Yep.
maybe less than 5% of those people are actually going to go out and do it.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Um, One of these questions will kind of merge, but what motivates you to work on your business? I kind of want to merge this with the next one. And then what helps you take on uncomfortable tasks? Because I kind of have got a perspective of you just being a doer and a hustler and a worker. But yeah, what motivates you?
Yeah, like you said, like I'm definitely I wouldn't consider myself like, we all know those guys or girls that are just smart. Like you're like, oh, that person is just really smart. Like I'm definitely not that person. Like I'm smarter maybe than the average Joe, but I'm not like that friend that's like the really, really smart. I mean, maybe to some people, but like not in my opinion. I feel like I just am more of a time. So I feel like if you want to get somewhere, as far as success, you have to be, as far as like business goes, you have to be either smart or you have to be willing to work an extreme amount more than your competitors. And I wasn't all that smart. I was, decent, but I really realized that I'm okay with just putting in double the hours of my competitors. So that's really my motivation, and that's how I get through hard things. Really, it's just that I know what it takes for me to get to what I need to get done, and it is somewhat of a longer route. I do know people in business that can work way less than me and make way more than me, which is awesome. But for me, it does take a lot of work. It takes a lot more focus. It takes a lot more research. And it just goes back to the same thing. It's how much do you want to learn and how much do you want to work? Because I'm consistently learning more every single day about all the other industries that I'm involved in, and even more beyond that. And I'm also just working, every single day on all my businesses to try to just keep them afloat as well as hopefully grow them.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that is it. I liked that whole bit, and I hope one day I will take that bit out and I will blast it out on social media, because it's such a true point. You're
Thanks,
either
man.
smart or you work your ass off, or you're lucky and you're both. And usually you kind of have to be a little bit of each. Whether you're
Yeah, yeah,
smart in
yeah.
what you think you are, but you have to be a little smart when it comes to things.
No, definitely.
I love that perspective, man. I love it. Um, where do you see yourself in 10 years, and where do you see the internet in 10 years? I love these two questions.
So with myself, I have two routes that I constantly ever since probably like 25 years old, I've sort of shifted my mindset is towards like an older type of mindset. I feel like either I'm going to get the bug and I'm going to just go crazy on business and I'm going to just blow things up to a level of like, $100 million worth $100 million type of a thing. Or I feel like I'm going to go the other routes and just take it slow and enjoy life and make smart investments as well as run fun businesses that I enjoy running and just really enjoy life that way. I don't necessarily know for me if there's anything in between. I feel like I'm sort of picking which route I'm trying to go down right now still. And I don't know. I feel like it's one or the other for the most part, but we'll have to see, honestly, because I could really see it going either way at this point. It depends on which morning, it depends which mindset I'm in every other day, honestly, of what I want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, good perspective. So I guess we'll see how your life pans out with things. And life is what happens when you're busy making plans. I don't know if you believe that or not, but
Yeah,
that
no, I
that
definitely
saying
do.
is
I definitely
resonated
do.
a lot.
Yes.
The other side of that, where do you see the internet in 10 years?
Oh, that's hard. Yeah. The internet it's gotten so strange since we were both younger, even 10 years ago. It's just gotten so strange. Social media has just shifted. I mean, with the TikTok stuff, like I don't even understand what's going on these days with TikTok and Triller or whatever, like all the dancing apps. I honestly feel like I'm sort of out of the loop, but I don't really know where I see it exactly. I do see it being hopefully a nice place. I feel like it's going to be a lot more interactive, like with like people like the live streaming thing. I think that Twitch is awesome. I'm very involved in Twitch. I like watching Twitch a lot of my free time, like gamers and IRL streamers and stuff. So I think that kind of thing is definitely in the future where people will just be sitting in front of a camera live and you'll be watching them do everyday things, cooking streams or, gaming streams, all that kind of stuff. I love that kind of
Cool
stuff.
ass
Like,
perspective.
yeah, I think it's gonna be much more interactive like that. And that kind of thing. I think it's just gonna be more interactive all around, maybe with like virtual reality and more so like futuristic things. But I really don't know, honestly. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with the internet today, honestly.
Yeah, of course. But I like your perspective. Best perspective on that question that I've had. I mean, we had one kid said regulation. There's going to be more regulation, which is it's a truthful statement, which is interesting to think. But what you're saying is really high sci-fi. I like the sci-fi things.
Mm-hmm.
How powerful do you believe your mindset is on your success in business? And coming from you, I'm curious because you seem like a hustler, a doer, but at the end of the day, does your mindset, have to be at the top of all of that?
Yeah, no, I definitely think your mindset is really important because, just like any other human, I have days where my mindset is kind of off and I'm just kind of like, what is the point of, well, if like these days, like what's the point of posting another YouTube video talking about stocks, or what's the point of building out an email campaign for my e-commerce business? Like I might not even get that many sales, or, you always have those days where your mindset might be
Very
down
true.
or it might be up. Honestly, I try to just for the most part, just be a robot and just go through my daily tasks. I'm really big on to-do lists. Just get done with your to-do list, even if you're not feeling it that day. Make a to-do list with a lot of stuff on it. Try to be productive and try to keep a positive mindset. But I do think that the mindset is everything because it can really pull you up or pull you down really quickly for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Awesome. Good to know. Good to know. What is the biggest struggle that you face as a business owner, I guess, on the vending side and the e-com side?
On the vending side, it probably would definitely be locating. Locating is really tough. It's really awkward if you're trying to do locating on your own. It's honestly, that's a whole skill in itself. I mean, if you are listening out there and you are at all good at sales, I would definitely say look into doing your own vending locating because it really is just sales. It's honestly some of the toughest face-to-face sales that I've ever came across, and it's really awkward at times. But the locating is hard. That's why I went the route just hiring a locator and literally just going in there and saying, I'm partnered with a charity. Here's the form and here's all the documentation. Can I put my machine here? Like, we were told that we could, and then the person normally is like, sure, go ahead. But that's definitely the hardest part about that. As far as ecom goes, yeah, it's probably just the marketing, just keeping up with the advertising because it's really just it's a machine. Like you have to spend money to make money in the e-commerce space. We all know that. Unless you, like you said, you have like a small or even large organic following, then that's absolutely golden. And these days, I would tell people to do that before they waste their money on Facebook ads, before they know what they're doing. I would say try to build up a small following, even if it's five people that really like you, 10 people that really like you. I think growing the organic following and then selling through that is the way to do it these days, honestly. When it comes to the marketing just burnt me out. Just having days on Facebook where I'm making $10,000 profit, then the next day I'm losing $3,000. The next day, I'm making $200, and it's like it's such a roller coaster. There's the algorithm. It's kind of like YouTube. You live and die by the algorithm. It's the same thing on Facebook and Instagram marketing. And it got really, really tiring. It burnt me out, honestly. And that's why I'm sort of, using my ecom business as more of a passive business at this point.
Yeah, wow. Interesting perspective on both ends. The vending was a good point. And yeah, ecom makes sense on that. The always churning out a market, obviously, if you don't have the organic
Mhm.
reach already, is definitely hard.
It's really
I
tough.
really like your perspective. Definitely some bits to be broken out of this. I really appreciate all of your info, man.
Of course, man.
And so do the listeners. That's why we're gonna like and we're gonna go to Benji's YouTube page at
Yes,
Benjy.
yes, yes.
If we were going back, and let me just tell you, this is where we usually ask to tell a joke, but we took that out and we're asking, what business would you start today if you had to start over?
If I were to start over and I was 18-year-old Benji, I would 1000% start a Twitch channel and become a gamer. 1000%. Because who doesn't like video games? I don't play video games because they're built to be extremely addicting, and I just don't want to spend that time doing that personally. Maybe one day I will, but I think playing video games is a lot of fun. I mean, I'm sure a lot of listeners agree with that, obviously. And live streaming it and getting paid, and whether it's a decent amount or a crazy amount of money for doing so, I think that's an absolutely awesome career that I would be perfectly fine with grinding that out if I had to start over. Honestly, that'd be absolutely awesome to me.
All right, we got the next ninja on this channel. We now
Exactly.
know where you're
How
going to
great
head in
would
the
that
next
be?
10 years.
Like, just wake up every morning, turn on the camera, say hello to your, followers, your viewers, and just start playing a video game all day. Like, I mean, I know it's like
Honestly, when
anything.
you say it, I've never been into video games either, which is interesting to hear that. I mean, it seems like you're into them more so you do watch it. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
watch it. I can't play them. I don't know why. I played
really.
Fortnite for basically like 8 hours between 2 days, like 16 hours between 2 days. And then I was like, all right, I'm too addicted. I'm not doing this.
Yeah, that's the
But
thing. They're so
every
addictive.
other game I did hate. Besides like GTA.
Yeah, yeah, back in the
GTA
day,
when I was
GTA,
younger.
even when we were younger, like Nintendo. I mean, there's so many fun games, and just to think about sitting in your computer chair and getting paid, tens of thousands of dollars. It seems like the best job in the world, and
Well,
someone from
that in a sense. Yes, wake up, turn a camera on, play video games for
sounds
6
awesome.
hours,
Yes,
make 10 grand, go back to
even
bed.
if
Like,
it
I mean,
takes
that
you
sounds
2
like
years to make it to build a following, or even 3 years to build a following, like that's I'd be willing. I'd be willing to do it.
but you're selling your soul to Jeff Bezos.
Yeah,
Remember that.
definitely, definitely.
What is your big dream? What's your end goal besides the Twitch?
My end goal, it's hard. I have two different scenarios. One end goal is, of course, like just growing a massive amount of wealth, having the beautiful, beautiful house on the ocean with the yacht and the private jet. That's, of course, one angle. The other angle is honestly closer to where I'm at now. I'm really at my end goal. It's like, I don't have to stress out about money anymore. Hopefully, hopefully not ever again. And so right now I don't have to. I can wake up every day and do what I want and just enjoy, running my businesses on my own terms. And for me, that's really the end goal right now, just to not have to wake up and listen to anyone, get yelled at by anyone, have to answer to anyone, and just run businesses that you enjoy running on your own terms, like when you want to. That's really my end goal, and that's honestly what I'm sort of living right now.
Wow. Yeah. Awesome. It's interesting to hear your perspective on a lot of things. I mean, you're 27, right?
Yep, 27.
So you have 3 years on me. I don't know if I'll be at your level of retirement because it does seem I'm
You
going the
could,
vending
man. I
route,
mean,
and
it's
I
yeah, you never know.
the vending is interesting. That there's two ways again I could go with it. It's either I continue to grow it and it grows beyond what I want and I have to have employees,
Hmm.
or the other route is I sell it, cash out for a nice six
Hmm.
figure check,
Hmm.
and I walk away and do something else. And the
Yes.
latter always does sound beautiful, but again, vending is a really cool business and it goes beyond just a vending machine vending. There are a lot of different things that you can offer within that business that,
No, definitely.
add to your end of the month, like invoices. I don't know.
Yeah. No, definitely. I hear you.
um, but yes. And we're on our last question, which is awesome. I appreciate you being on here, man. A lot of
Of
awesome
course, man.
information. And what's really holding you back? We're not even asking this question. We know we're gonna wrap it up here. We know your big goal, your end goal, you've kind of accomplished. You're happy. You wake up. You basically are doing exactly what you want. You don't have to answer to anyone. You live in the beautiful state of Florida. Besides the COVID that you guys have there, which I don't even
Yeah,
know if
and the
is real.
heat, it's so hot here right now too. It's so miserable, like 100% humidity
Yeah.
every single day. I mean, it's too hot right now. That's the other thing. I can't wait for fall and
Yeah,
winter, but
that does. Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to every place, but I mean, it's awesome. You're down there. You get to do what you want. You have your dividend investing, um, and it's so cool to hear your perspective on. You're basically almost at your end goal with what you really want. You can wake up and do what you want, and I think that's a lot of people should look forward to if they're building a business. If they're listening to this podcast, they obviously want to start some type of business, and at the end of the day, if you do it for 10 years, 15 years, or hack at business for an extended
mhm.
period of time, you will have success. And if you do it the right way, you'll be able to build your business in a way that suits your lifestyle. And I think that is the future of what business is: lifestyle entrepreneurs, people that live their life and make money as a side income of whatever they do. Instagram has become just a byproduct for people to make money. Like, you hit up Kim Kardashian to post a story, a
Mhm.
picture for 24 hours, and it's $100,000 or $200,000. Like, everyone can do that on even on micro scale. If you really think about it, like you said, you have that organic following,
Yep.
and just cool talking to you. A lot of awesome perspectives in this. Let's wrap it up here. You can wrap it up. I appreciate your time though, Benjy, and tell people where they can find you. Obviously, we spoke a little bit about that, and yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me on, you guys. And yeah, follow me on Instagram at Benjy. I have the coolest at on Instagram, by the way. So just type in Benjy, that's me. And also just on YouTube, if you guys are interested in stock market stuff or dividend investing, just type in Benjy. You'll probably find me. So that's that.
Awesome, man. Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it. And good luck in everything you do and in your investing. Hopefully it's a V recovery, not a W
Yes,
recovery.
hopefully. Yes. Thank you, man. You too, as well as everything you got going on, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.